Radio Rahim with Abel Sanchez. I have to say, it's been some time since we've had an opportunity to speak, so I'm going to take up as much of your time as you have because we got a lot of things to run through. It's a pleasure to see you over. Obviously, we're in London. We're just 48 hours away from Hrgovic taking on Joyce, a last-minute replacement. I just talked to Filip, and I said in that interview, if there's one guy who can prepare you in 2 weeks for a fight of this magnitude, it is certainly Abel Sanchez. But that's still a tall order for anybody, especially at the heavyweight top contender element. What did you have to do to make sure that Filip was ready for Saturday night?
Well, first of all, we've been together for about 6 months. He was in Big Bear for about 5 months, and we had fights called off. We had a fight called off in December. We had a fight called off two in February. So I let him go home a couple weeks at a time. And when this fight was told to us, he had been home for about 2.5 weeks. He was in camp before that, so he's in shape. He was in shape. He was sparring in Big Bear. Like I said, we're getting ready for a fight. It's just that the fight didn't materialize. And when they called him about this, he called me, and I said, "Oh, of course." He went home, kept running because he knew that he was going to be in line for something. So he kept working. He wasn't sparring, so I was able to get to Croatia. I flew to Croatia 2.5 weeks. So we sparred for 2.5 weeks that I was there, and now we're here in London ready for the fight.
You know, you said that fights were scheduled and canceled, and on the back of a loss, there's an argument to be made for either thing. Is it better that you had that time and the 6 months in the training and being able to kind of gel mentally and physically as a trainer, or would you have liked to have him right back in, being that it wasn't like he got demolished, maybe just keep the momentum and keep his confidence up?
No, I'm glad that we had the time together, and I'm glad because the systems that he was working with before maybe were different than mine. And well, I know that they're different. You know that they're different than mine. So I was able to not only mentally but physically do some things with him that I feel are necessary to compete at a higher level. I'm glad that he got the time off also because he got a chance to think about what the importance of a loss or a win are to a career, and to a career from a young man that comes from a small country. If you come from the U.S., from an important area, or even from here, from the U.K., you get a shot right after that. You know, you lose and it's okay, you can get another shot. For him, it's been very, very frustrating for him because he was like, his name was just completely forgotten.
When a fighter has so few opportunities, you have to be careful about which ones you choose. Granted, Joyce, 3 of his last 4 fights have been defeats, so it's not like he's on a big roll. Again, Hrgovic's only got the 1 loss. However, this is a big fight for him. What hangs in the balance, like you say, if he were to lose again, who knows how he gets back in the top conversation after that? How big a risk is it?
It's a huge risk for both guys. It's a huge risk because they're both coming off of a loss. Joe didn't look good against Chisora. Hrgovic didn't look good against Dubois, but Dubois won. What has Dubois done since then? So it's not really a bad knock on Filip. I think that as it was with some of my old fighters, Terry Norris for one, a loss sometimes is a blessing because it kind of refocuses you, grounds you again, and teaches you or shows you the things that you need to do to go back to the gym. In my gym, as you know, there's no nonsense. My gym is a military gym, and I demanded some things from Filip, and he gave them to me. Unfortunately for him, the frustration of not getting a fight was very hard on him. But when he called me about this one, I said, perfect opponent. Perfect opponent. 1, because I know him. 2, because his style is the kind of style that is going to be for a good fight.
You mentioned that you know him, and we're talking about Joyce, of course, and you're talking about him being a perfect opponent for Filip Hrgovic. If both of those things are true, then Filip certainly should win on Saturday night and maybe going away. Maybe it's a one-sided matchup. If it does turn out to be a one-sided victory for Hrgovic, is that the end in your mind, knowing Joyce for Joe?
I don't think it's right for us to judge when it's right for him. We wouldn't want him to judge our career either. If we have a bad night interviewing somebody, you don't want somebody to say that's it for you. You know, I think
do they ever?
I think that it's what's right for him is for him to sit down with his family, with his loved ones, because they're the ones that are going to be with Joe for the rest of his life. They're the ones that are going to be taking care of Joe, not only physically but mentally also. So that decision, I think, should be made by him and his loved ones, not by us.
You know, it's an awkward question because we in the boxing community, you know, we're at war for you guys, trainers and fighters alike. And we in the media kick up the animosity and want a good fight and talk up like, oh, one more round, get up off the canvas. But at the end of the day, we want everybody to go home well. We want everybody to live the rest of their lives in peace and joy. So is there something inside you that's like, man, this might be too much for Joyce? Was Hrgovic a bad pick? Because he's saying he picked Hrgovic.
I think he was a bad pick. I don't think that he knew that Filip was working with me, for one. And two, I think that as far as the fight's concerned, I think that if we're able to clip him and hurt him early, it's better for Joe than if the fight goes 10 rounds and he takes, a beating for 10 rounds. Because I know Filip is going to be able to go 10 rounds. I know Joe is going to be able to go 10 rounds. But I think that Joe, being the slower one, may take punches that are not necessary for the future.
I heard Hrgovic say Joe is so slow up on the dais. And when I was talking to him just a few minutes ago, he was like, it's only a fair fight because I had 2 weeks. He was very dismissive of the challenge ahead of him. He was the same for Dubois. So even if you do believe that it's a perfect fight for Filip, how do you make sure he doesn't go in overconfident or too dismissive of his opponent?
Trust me, in the gym, I've let him know that we're going into this and everybody's view as a loser. We lost the last fight. We didn't look good in the last fight. Things that we done in the gym mentally were to prepare him for people being dismissive of him. He's being dismissive only because we're 2 days away from the fight. He's saying Joe is slow. We talked a lot about Joe in the gym, and yeah, Joe is slow, but Joe gets it done. So I'm well aware, and he's well aware of what we got in front of us. We haven't got an easy fight. We got a difficult fight, and we're going to have to do what we did in the gym and what we've been doing in order to beat Joe. Joe's not going to roll over for us.
Being that the heavyweight division is the talk of the sport always, and especially when we've got solid competition impacting the top of the echelon, which we do now, I'm going to turn your attention to a couple of potential fights on the horizon, as your man could be challenging, any of these guys. We're looking at Derek Chisura's number 50, which he's sworn up and down is going to be the final one. And surprising to most, including myself, that the IBF has named him the mandatory for Daniel Dubois. We just talked about Joyce and what might or might not be the end for him. I've been calling for the end for Chisura for at least 3 years, and he's proven me wrong, and Frank Warren and a lot of people who have said he should have hung it up a long time ago. But if that matchup were to take place, Chisura and Dubois, I mean, what do you make of that? Is that a bit too much for Derek?
No, I think it's a good fight. I think that we can't discount Chisora just by what he's done in the last 2 or 3 fights. He's not the biggest puncher. He's not the youngest guy. He's not the fastest, but he seems to get things done the way he needs to win fights. Dubois is on a streak. Dubois is doing well, but I think that Derek deserves a shot at something. We'd love to get the winner.
I mentioned that AJ is still not have an opponent set. I mean, I think Parker is gunning for that fight. A lot of people would like to fight AJ just for the money and the spotlight. Where do you think, if you were to be asked from AJ or his camp, where would you think is a good place for AJ to go next?
Go next as far as a fight is concerned?
As far as a fight.
I think it all depends a lot on how these 2 fights that you're talking about, ours and Derek and Dubois, how they look in how the fight is fought, how good they look or how bad they look. I think you have to earn the opportunity to fight an AJ for the reason that you just said, because it's a fight for the money. I think that if we look great on Saturday night, then we need to be in consideration. I think if Dubois looks great against Chisora, who's done very good against some other very good opponents, I think that Dubois deserves it. So I think it all depends on how you can sell yourself fight night.
When you said opponent, when I said where to go next, I think because the conversation also is being had about trainers and whether or not Ben Davidson has done well by AJ, or if this is a relationship that he should continue in this very last chapter of his career. What did you make of a lot of the criticism that Ben Davidson received after the Dubois fight, and if this is maybe a time for AJ to move on and find another trainer?
I think it's unfair for another coach to talk about situations like that. But I think once before you and I have discussed that possibility quite a while ago, and I said that if contacted, then I would sit down and discuss it with it. But I don't think it's fair for us to. I don't think it's fair for us to judge another coach with a fighter because we don't know what went on in the gym. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know what the personalities are like. We don't know what they have. Between them, maybe there was some issues in camp. We don't know, so you can't judge a fight on one or a coach on one fight that happened. You know.
Well, I've got to let you go, as the big man has said. I know where you're going next. The hotel. We'll see you Saturday night. Thank you for the time as always. Listen, say Radio Rahim.
Seconds out.
It's the same. It's the same.
And listen, I think Ben's a great coach. Just so you know. Okay?
And now they know. Radio Rahim with Abel Sanchez.